Dearest listeners, how curious that the most calculating of arrangements often yield the most passionate of devotions. Today, this author brings you the most deliciously scandalous tale of ambition transformed by affection, of two souls who sought convenience but found something far more precious. But let us not rush, for the best scandals, like the finest wine, must be savored properly. London, 1817. A season of particular splendor and, as your humble chronicler observed, of particularly inventive deceptions. The tongue buzzed with the usual whispers: who had squandered what fortune, whose daughter had been compromised, which gentleman had fallen spectacularly from grace. And fallen spectacularly, Lord Damien Ravenscroft certainly had. One must confess, this author had always held a particular fascination for the second sons of noble houses. Neither burdened with direct inheritance nor entirely free of expectation, they occupied that most interesting of societal positions: privilege without purpose. Lord Damien, however, had found his purpose at the gaming tables of White's, where fortunes rose and fell with each turn of a card. This author has it on good authority that Lord Damien's latest catastrophic loss involved not merely money, but the deed to his modest country estate, the last vestige of his inheritance. The whispers at Almack's suggested he had staggered from the club at dawn, his cravat askew, his eyes hollow with the particular emptiness that comes when one has nothing left to wager. Lady Jersey pronounced him a rake of the highest order, with that particular curl of her lip that signaled the death knell of one's social standing. This author noticed how the mothers of debutantes pulled their daughters closer whenever Lord Damien entered a room, as if destitution might be contagious. Across town, in a townhouse of understated elegance on Grosvenor Square, another social pariah prepared for the evening's entertainments. Lady Vivian Ashbridge, widow of the late and little lamented Baron Ashbridge, had emerged from her period of mourning only to find herself the subject of whispers far more damaging than mere financial ruin. Would you believe, dearest listeners, that despite her impeccable lineage and considerable fortune, Lady Vivian found herself excluded from the most prestigious drawing rooms? The rumors that she had taken a lover while her elderly husband still drew breath had spread with the particular efficiency reserved for scandals involving beautiful women of independent means. This author observed Lady Vivian at the Hartley Musicale last Tuesday, her spine straight as a rapier, her eyes revealing nothing as matrons whispered behind fans. One could only admire such composure. What the gossips did not know, but this author did, was that beneath her serene exterior, Lady Vivian harbored a growing desperation. The late Baron's creditors circled like vultures, and without a husband's protection, even her considerable dowry might not shield her from their claims. What the babblers and gossips failed to comprehend, but this author, through her particular channels, had discovered, was that the late Baron, in his desperation, had used Lady Vivian's own dowry as collateral for his most imprudent loans, an act of dubious legality that now left her terribly exposed. Without a husband to champion her cause, the creditors smelled blood in the water. Her apparent wealth was a facade as fragile as spun sugar. One good rain would dissolve it entirely. Two souls, each with secrets they believed well concealed, each with a solution that would horrify polite society, if only polite society could read minds. How fortunate that your humble chronicler possesses just such an ability. The Duchess of Richmond's ball, not her grandest affair, but certainly her most interesting of the season. This author watched with particular delight as Lord Damien arrived precisely at the fashionable hour, his appearance immaculate despite his circumstances. One must admire a gentleman who maintains standards even as he contemplates matrimonial mercenary action. Gentle listeners, steel yourselves for what transpired next, for even this author, who has witnessed countless social machinations, found herself reaching for her fan. Lady Vivian entered the ballroom just as the orchestra completed a country dance. This author noticed how the candlelight caught the subtle emeralds at her throat, jewels that had escaped her creditor's attention. More significantly, this author observed Lord Damien's gaze sharpen with the particular focus of a predator identifying prey. What Lord Damien saw was not merely a woman of exceptional beauty, though with her auburn hair and remarkable green eyes, Lady Vivian certainly qualified, but a potential solution draped in silk and family jewels. A wealthy widow in need of social rehabilitation might welcome the attention of a lord, however impoverished. Or so one might calculate, if one were desperate enough. This author watched with fascination as Lord Damien navigated the ballroom with precision, engineering an introduction through his aunt, Lady Worthington, one of the few members of society who maintained connections with both parties. The introduction came with the particular inflection that suggested Lady Worthington suspected exactly what her nephew intended. This author observed their first shared glance, his calculating behind a charming smile, hers wary beneath perfect courtesy. Neither revealed recognition of the other's notorious reputation, though this author would wager her best bonnet that each had identified the other as a subject of societal condemnation. Lord Damien declared the next dance was promised to him, though no such promise had been made. To the visible shock of those nearby, this author included, Lady Vivienne accepted with a slight inclination of her head. As they took their positions for the quadrille, this author noted how Lord Damien leaned slightly closer than propriety permitted. His murmured comment about them being the most interesting scandal in the room suggested they might as well provide the spectacle society craved. Lady Vivienne's expression remained impassive, but this author, who prides herself on noticing the minutest details, observed her gloved fingers tighten fractionally on his arm. Her quiet reply indicated that giving society exactly what it expects was terribly dull. The dance proceeded with perfect execution. Lord Damien had always excelled at such performances, but this author noted how they watched each other with the particular intensity of opponents assessing strengths and vulnerabilities. Neither smiled genuinely, both calculated. And yet, gentle listeners, there was something else, a spark of recognition perhaps. The particular connection that forms between two souls who understand what it means to be judged and found wanting. In the fortnight that followed, this author observed the most exquisite performance of indifference London had witnessed in many a season. Lord Damien and Lady Vivienne encountered each other at precisely the places where eligible persons might naturally meet. Hyde Park during the fashionable hour, the circulating library at Hatchard's, even a poetry reading at Lady Melbourne's. One must confess a certain amusement at their elaborate charade. Lord Damien, who had never before shown interest in literature beyond racing forms, suddenly developed a passionate interest in first editions. Lady Vivienne, who had previously limited her rides to early mornings when the park stood nearly empty, now appeared precisely when society promenaded. Lady Vivienne remarked upon the coincidence during their third such chance encounter, her voice carrying that particular inflection that indicated she believed in coincidence as much as she believed in unicorns. This author watched from a discreet distance as Lord Damien executed a perfect bow. His reply about Providence smiling upon him came with that particular smile that had separated many a young lady from her virtue, though never, it must be noted, from her reputation. For all his faults, Lord Damien had never been careless with the good names of innocent young ladies. Lady Vivienne was, of course, neither innocent nor young. At 27, with a marriage behind her, she occupied that most interesting of positions, experienced enough to recognize a fortune hunter, independent enough to make her own decisions. What fascinated this author most was how their mutual resistance began to falter. At the Pembroke Musicale, this author observed Lord Damien's expression when Lady Vivienne performed a particularly moving Italian aria. For one unguarded moment, calculation gave way to genuine appreciation. Similarly, at the Harrington dinner, Lady Vivienne's practiced indifference slipped when Lord Damien defended her against a particularly cutting remark from Lady Jersey, delivered naturally, just loudly enough to be overheard. Later that evening, as they stood on the terrace, chaperoned only by the distant stars, Lady Vivienne expressed surprise at Lord Damien's gallantry, having thought he possessed none at all. His response indicated surprise at her assumptions. This author, who had positioned herself near an open window with remarkable acoustics, noted the particular tension in Lady Vivienne's voice when she admitted to assuming what society told her, that he was a gambler and rake, interested only in restoring his fortunes through whatever means necessary. Lord Damien's laugh was not his usual practiced sound, but something rawer. His retort about society's claim that she took a lover while her husband breathed his last challenged whether they should both accept society's verdicts. The silence that followed held a particular quality that suggested both had said more than intended. This author observed Lady Vivian's fingers tightening around her fan, a beautiful trifle of ivory and lace that trembled slightly despite her outward composure. Her eventual suggestion that perhaps society did not know everything it claimed to know caused this author's heart to quicken. For what is more delicious than the moment when two opponents begin to question the battle they thought they were fighting? The resistance continued in public, of course. At Almack's, they maintained a careful distance. At the opera, they acknowledged each other with the precise degree of civility required. No more, no less. But this author, who has observed the ton through many a season, recognized the particular quality of their performance. They resisted not merely each other, but their growing curiosity about the person behind the reputation. The true turning point, dearest listeners, came not at a grand ball or public assembly, but in the hushed sanctuary of the British Museum on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. This author, who occasionally finds cultural edification a pleasant diversion from scandal gathering, happened upon the most remarkable scene in the Egyptian gallery. Lady Vivian stood transfixed before a sarcophagus, her profile outlined against the dim light. Lord Damien, entering from the opposite direction, paused upon seeing her, and this author observed with fascination that he nearly turned away, as if unwilling to disturb her solitude. Something changed his mind, perhaps the particular vulnerability in her solitary stance, and he approached with uncharacteristic hesitation. His comment about ancient Egyptians believing the heart was weighed against a feather in the afterlife, with too many sins causing it to sink, came as he stopped at a respectful distance. Lady Vivian did not start at his voice, as if she had somehow sensed his presence. Her soft reply about the terrible notion of having one's entire life reduced to such a simple measurement prompted Lord Damien to move beside her, both facing the ancient artifact. He drew a parallel to society's daily judgments. One misstep, and the scales tip irrevocably. This author, concealed behind a particularly massive stone column, observed a shift in their usual dynamic. Without an audience, save your humble chronicler, of course, they stood simply as a man and woman sharing a moment of reflection. Lady Vivian's whispered question about whether he truly gambled away everything caused Lord Damien's shoulders to stiffen, then relax on an exhaled breath. His admission came with none of his usual polish. Though he began to mention his brother's debts, he stopped abruptly. Lady Vivian turned to face him fully, questioning about his brother. Lord Damien explained with particular bitterness that the heir apparent cannot be seen to fail. Better the spare bear the scandal. His halting explanation revealed the truth. For years he had covered his brother's increasing debts, taking them upon himself to protect the family name and estate. His recent catastrophic loss had been a calculated sacrifice, the final payment to shield his brother from ruin. "My brother has promised to make things right," he confessed with a weariness that spoke of promises too often broken. "But a count's honor moves at its own pace. For now, society sees me as a ruined man." Oh, gentle listeners, this author nearly gasped aloud at this revelation. To sacrifice one's reputation to protect a brother, how terribly noble and terribly foolish. Lady Vivian was silent for a long moment. Then, with a decision visible in her bearing, she confessed she never took a lover. Lord Damien's gaze snapped to her face. She continued with steady voice despite her trembling hands, explaining that her husband died of apoplexy after discovering his steward had been embezzling for years. The steward spread the rumors to discredit any accusation she might make. This author observed the remarkable transformation in Lord Damien's expression. Shock giving way to outrage, then to a particular quality of respect that had nothing to do with social standing. His question about why she didn't expose the steward met with her explanation that the evidence died with her husband, and a lady fighting such accusations only lends them credibility. They stood in silence, the ancient Egyptian dead bearing witness to this exchange of truths. This author observed how they had unconsciously moved closer, their shoulders nearly touching. Lord Damien's observation that they were neither of them what society believed met with Lady Vivian's agreement that they were merely its convenient villains. What happened next dearest listeners, might seem inconsequential to those who measure intimacy only in physical terms. Their hands, both ungloved in the privacy of the museum gallery, brushed against each other. Neither acknowledged it, neither moved away. For the briefest moment, their fingers intertwined, then separated. This author, who prides herself on discerning the significance of such moments, recognized it for what it was, not a calculated move in a game of matrimonial chess, but an unplanned connection between two souls who had glimpsed behind each other's carefully constructed facades. They departed separately, maintaining their public performance of mere acquaintance. But this author knew, as surely as she knows the difference between Mechlin and Brussels lace, that everything had changed. If this author believed the path to understanding would proceed smoothly from that point, she was soon reminded of the particular talent society has for complicating matters of the heart. 3 days after their museum encounter, at Lady Hertford's dinner party, disaster struck in the form of Lord Billingsley, a gentleman whose greatest talent lay in causing discomfort to others. This author watched with growing dismay as Lord Billingsley positioned himself between Lord Damien and Lady Vivian at the dinner table, a placement that seemed too deliberate to be coincidental. His remark to Lady Vivian about discussing with Lord Damien his remarkable streak of luck at the tables the previous night, describing it as quite the reversal of fortune, came with that particular smile that suggests malice disguised as pleasantry. This author observed Lady Vivian's face closely, the brief flash of confusion followed by the particular stillness that suggests one is restraining stronger emotion. Lord Damien's expression revealed nothing, but this author noted the slight whitening of his knuckles around his wineglass. His reply accused Billingsley of exaggeration, claiming it was a modest evening, nothing more. Lord Billingsley laughed with performative delight, declaring it absurd to call modest an evening when a man wins enough to purchase back his family estate in a single night. Gentle listeners, steel yourselves for what happened next. This author watched as Lady Vivian's gaze locked with Lord Damien's across the table, a look of such profound disappointment that even this jaded chronicler felt its impact. The misunderstanding bloomed like a poisonous flower. To Lady Vivian, it appeared that Lord Damien had been playing a role with her, that his financial ruin had been exaggerated, his confidences false. To those observing, including, regrettably, your humble chronicler, it seemed the natural conclusion. What no one at the table knew, what this author would only discover later through her particular network of informants, was that Lord Damien had indeed experienced a remarkable reversal of fortune, but not through gambling. His brother, the Earl, had finally acknowledged his own debts and provided Lord Damien with the means to recover his property, the fulfillment of the very promise mentioned in the museum. A private family matter that Lord Damien, with his particular sense of loyalty, would never discuss publicly. In the days that followed, this author observed the most painful of social dances. Lady Vivian withdrew entirely, declining invitations where Lord Damien might appear. Lord Damien, in turn, sought her out with increasing desperation, only to be rebuffed by closed doors and returned correspondence. At the Harrington Ball, usually a highlight of the season, this author watched Lady Vivian refuse Lord Damien's request for a dance with a cut so direct that even Lady Jersey raised an approving eyebrow. Her glacial statement that she believed his luck had run its course carried a double meaning lost on most observers. But this author noted the particular anguish that flashed across Lord Damien's features before his social mask resumed its place. His quiet reply that luck had never been the force that interested him most preceded his dignified withdrawal, despite the whispers that followed. This author, who has witnessed countless social skirmishes, recognized the particular agony of two people who cannot find their way back to truth once mistrust has taken root. The greatest tragedy, dearest listeners, was that their separation suited certain parties perfectly. This author later discovered that Lord Billingsley had connections to Lady Vivian's late husband's steward, the very man who had spread the initial rumors about her. A tangled web indeed, and one designed to keep Lady Vivian isolated and vulnerable to the circling creditors. As April gave way to May, this author observed Lady Vivian's increasing pallor, Lord Damien's growing recklessness. They had found in each other a moment of understanding, only to have it snatched away by deliberate malice disguised as social pleasantry. This author observed Lord Damien leave the Harrington ball not with the posture of a defeated man, but with the cold fury of someone who realized the game was far larger than he had imagined. His first stop was not his home, but rather the office of a certain solicitor known for his discretion and ability to unearth inconvenient truths. Lord Billingsley had made a fatal error. He had given Lord Damien an enemy to fight, rather than a love to mourn. But I digress. For the course of true understanding, like that of true love, cannot be permanently diverted by mere misunderstanding, not when hearts have recognized their counterparts, however briefly. The turning point, dearest listeners, came at the Duchess of Devonshire's masquerade, an event of such magnificence that even this author, who has witnessed the grandest entertainments across 3 decades, found herself impressed by the spectacle. Lady Vivian arrived as Diana the Huntress, her mask of silver filigree concealing the upper half of her face, but doing nothing to disguise the particular elegance of her bearing. Lord Damien, in contrast, chose the guise of Hades, a choice that raised many an eyebrow, given the god's associations with wealth and the underworld. This author positioned herself strategically near the terrace doors, anticipating developments with the particular thrill that comes when one senses the wheels of fate beginning to turn. The anticipation was not misplaced. Lord Billingsley, costumed with predictable lack of imagination as Apollo, approached Lady Vivian with the confidence of a man who believes victory assured. This author, through means she shall not disclose, had learned of Lord Billingsley's intentions to offer Lady Vivian protection from her creditors in exchange for her hand, and more significantly, control of her fortune. Lord Billingsley began with a tone of false concern, mentioning that he had heard the most distressing news about her financial situation, describing her late husband's creditors as persistent and vulgar in their demands. This author observed Lady Vivian's spine stiffen beneath her classical draperies. Her response noted that he seemed remarkably well informed about her private affairs. He replied that he made it his business to know matters that concerned those he admired, stepping closer than propriety allowed. His suggestion that he could make these problems disappear with a word from him to certain individuals hung in the air between them. This author held her breath, wondering if Lady Vivian recognized the trap being laid, a trap that had been in preparation since before her husband's death. Before Lady Vivian could respond, a new voice entered the conversation. Not Lord Damien's, as this author had anticipated, but that of Mr. Harrison, a solicitor of considerable reputation who had arrived costumed, appropriately enough, as Justice. Mr. Harrison apologized for the interruption, explaining there was a matter of some urgency regarding her husband's estate. Lord Billingsley's expression darkened behind his golden mask as he insisted that surely business could wait until after the festivities. Mr. Harrison smiled thinly, suggesting that Lady Vivian would find this particular business most illuminating, especially as it concerned certain documents that had recently come into his possession, documents signed by one Thomas Finch. This author observed Lady Vivian's sharp intake of breath. Thomas Finch, the name of her husband's steward, the originator of the rumors that had damaged her reputation. Her whispered question about what documents met with Mr. Harrison's explanation of correspondence between Mr. Finch and... Here, Mr. Harrison paused with the particular dramatic timing that suggested he had been instructed in this revelation. Lord Billingsley. Gentle listeners, the tableau that formed in that moment. Lord Billingsley's face drained of color behind his mask. Lady Vivian's eyes widened with dawning comprehension. And from the shadows stepped Lord Damien, his Hades mask removed to reveal an expression of grim satisfaction. Lord Damien's remark on the curiosity of the same man who spread rumors about Lady Vivian being in regular correspondence with Billingsley came with deadly pleasantness. He noted it was almost as curious as Billingsley's knowledge of his gaming activities, given that Billingsley was nowhere near White's on the night in question. This author watched with particular delight as understanding dawned across the assembled listeners, for a small crowd had gathered, drawn by that particular instinct society has for impending scandal. Mr. Harrison continued, producing a packet tied with legal ribbon, explaining that these letters detailed a most interesting conspiracy. It seemed Mr. Finch was instructed to embezzle from Baron Ashbridge, to drive the estate toward ruin. When the Baron discovered the theft, Mr. Finch was further instructed to discredit any claims the Baroness might make by spreading particular rumors about her virtue. Lady Vivian's hand flew to her throat as she questioned why. Lord Damien stepped forward, his gaze never leaving Lord Billingsley's increasingly panicked face, explaining that Billingsley held her husband's notes of hand, purchased systematically over years. With her reputation in tatters and her financial situation desperate, he could offer marriage as her only salvation. Billingsley never forgave your father, Baron Ashbridge, for winning your hand, Lord Damien added with cold precision, a hand he himself had sought. And as for me, his smile held no warmth. He never forgave me for winning Thunderbolt from him at Newmarket 5 years ago. His pettiness is exceeded only by his greed. Mr. Harrison agreed it was a clever scheme, made more interesting by similar correspondence regarding Lord Damien. It seemed Lord Billingsley had been quite determined to ruin two reputations. This author observed the particular quality of rage that transformed Lord Billingsley's features, the rage of a manipulator exposed. He lunged toward Mr. Harrison, clearly intending to seize the damning letters, only to find himself restrained by Lord Damien's firm grip. Lord Damien's lethal softness suggested Billingsley owed Lady Vivian an apology, though he could not imagine one sufficient to the offense. What happened next occurred with such speed that even this author, who prides herself on observing everything, could scarcely follow the sequence. Lord Billingsley broke free, drew a small pistol from within his costume, a shocking breach of every social code, and pointed it not at Lord Damien, but at Lady Vivian. His snarl, abandoning all pretense of gentility, questioned whether this changed anything, claiming he still held enough power to destroy them both. Before anyone could move, Lord Damien stepped directly into the pistol's path, placing himself between the weapon and Lady Vivian with the particular deliberateness that suggests complete commitment to the potential consequences. His simple statement that Billingsley would have to kill him first came without dramatic flair or posturing heroism, but with the quiet certainty of a man who had made his choice without reservation. Gentle listeners, even this author, who has witnessed countless acts of both cowardice and courage, felt her heart seize at this declaration. The standoff lasted only moments before several gentlemen overpowered Lord Billingsley, the pistol discharging harmlessly into a potted palm. But those moments, dearest listeners, contained volumes, particularly in the gaze that passed between Lord Damien and Lady Vivian. A gaze of perfect understanding, of recognition, of something far deeper than the social dance they had been performing. As Lord Billingsley was escorted from the premises, his social death more complete than any physical one could have been, this author observed Lord Damien turn to Lady Vivian, his expression unguarded, for perhaps the first time since they had met. His simple request for forgiveness met with Lady Vivian's response, not in words, but in action. She stepped forward and placed her hand in his, a gesture more intimate in that moment than any embrace could have been. This author, not normally moved to emotional display, found herself surprisingly affected by this tableau, for it represented not merely the triumph of truth over lies, but the particular courage required to trust after betrayal, to hope after disappointment. The final act of our tale, dearest listeners, unfolded not in the ballrooms of Mayfair or the gossip-filled drawing rooms of society, but in the quiet sanctuary of Lady Vivian's garden, one perfect June morning. This author, invited to witness the private ceremony as one of a very select group, observed with particular satisfaction as Lord Damien and Lady Vivian exchanged vows beneath an arbor of climbing roses. One must confess that even this author, who has chronicled countless unions of convenience and calculation, found herself quite moved by the evident affection between the couple. They had chosen intimacy over spectacle, sincerity over show, a choice that spoke volumes about the journey they had traveled. The Dowager Countess of Matlock remarked upon their progression from expedience to devotion, dabbing suspiciously at her eyes in wonderment. This author naturally had thought it, or at least hoped for it. For what is more satisfying than witnessing two souls find in each other not what they sought, but what they truly needed? The scandal that had threatened to destroy them both had, in the end, proved their salvation. Lord Billingsley's disgrace was complete. He had fled to the continent, leaving behind a tangle of debts and broken schemes. The letters discovered by Lord Damien, for it was he who had traced the conspiracy to its source, had not only cleared Lady Vivian's name, but restored her financial security as her husband's creditors were revealed to be operating on fraudulent claims. Similarly, Lord Damien's reputation had undergone a remarkable rehabilitation. Society, which loves nothing more than a redemption narrative, save perhaps a fall from grace, had embraced him as a man misjudged. His brother, the Earl, had publicly acknowledged the sacrifices Lord Damien had made for the family honor, a revelation that transformed the Raquel into a figure of noble self-sacrifice in the eyes of the Tun. This author observed with particular pleasure how Lady Vivian's hand remained clasped in Lord Damien's throughout the wedding breakfast, not as a performance for their guests, but as if the connection between them had become as natural as breathing. Lord Damien confessed to this author as the celebration continued around them that he had sought a convenient solution and found instead the very thing he had convinced himself did not exist. When your humble chronicler inquired what that might be, his gaze turned to Lady Vivian, now Lady Ravenscroft, as she laughed at something his brother had said. The particular quality of his expression in that moment revealed everything. His reply spoke of a love based not on what society sees, but on what they recognized in each other when no one else was looking. This author, who has witnessed countless declarations of devotion, most of them performative rather than genuine, recognized the particular truth in his words. For they had indeed seen each other, not the convenient villains of society's creation, but the complex, imperfect, honorable souls beneath the scandal. One might observe that their path to happiness had been unnecessarily complicated by pride and misunderstanding. Yet this author would suggest that perhaps the very obstacles they overcame were necessary to forge a connection of genuine strength. Like gold, tested in fire, their affection had emerged purer for the trials it had endured. As the garden party dispersed into the golden afternoon, this author watched the newlyweds slip away from their guests, their heads bent close in private conversation. Not the calculated withdrawal of a couple performing contentment, but the natural gravitation of two people who genuinely prefer each other's company to all others. And so, gentle listeners, another tale reaches its blessed conclusion. This author withdraws until our next encounter. Until then, remember, the greatest scandals often lead to the greatest happiness. The tongue will always whisper, but true understanding speaks in silence, in shared glances, in hands that find each other even in the darkest moments. In the eternal battle between society's judgment and the heart's wisdom, this author shall always favor the latter. Your devoted chronicler, Lady Ravenswood.